You've tried the morning routines. You've tried the productivity apps. You've tried the journaling, the cold showers, the just discipline yourself advice that never seems to stick. And yet, the frustration is still there. The slow mornings, the emotional spirals, the feeling that your day is running you, not the other way around. Here's the thing. South Korea has one of the most productive, resilient, and emotionally grounded cultures on the planet. A country that rebuilt itself from near-total destruction into a global powerhouse in a single generation. What's their secret? It's not genetics. It's not suffering. It's not some 5 a.m. boot camp. It's 9 habits. 9 habits baked so deep into Korean daily life that most Koreans don't even think of them as habits. They're just how life works. You're not stuck because you're lazy. You're not stuck because you're broken. You're just missing a system that was never designed for the frustrations you're carrying. Most of the advice you've been given treats you like a machine that needs fixing. Korea's habits treat you like a human being who needs alignment. By the end of this video, you'll have 9 of those alignment tools, ones you can actually use today, not next Monday, not when life slows down. Today. And one of these, especially habit number 6, is going to reframe something you've probably been fighting your entire life. The first habit is called Nunchi. Nunchi means the ability to read a room, to sense the emotional temperature of any situation before a single word is spoken, but not the kind where you're nervously scanning for approval from everyone around you. In Korea, Nunchi is considered a life skill on the same level as intelligence. Children are raised with it. Professionals are promoted based on it. It is the invisible social currency of an entire culture. Studies show that people with high emotional attunement are up to 58% more effective in collaborative work environments. Want to stop walking into situations and feeling blindsided? Here's exactly how to use this. So try this before your next important conversation, a meeting, a difficult talk, even a family dinner. Spend 60 seconds outside the room. Ask yourself, what's the emotional energy I'm about to enter? Then adjust. Not your words, your energy. Here's why this works. You can't solve a human moment with a logical strategy. Nunchi teaches you to feel first, then respond, and that's the difference between diffusing tension and creating it. And that brings us to the second habit is called Ppalli-ppalli. Ppalli-ppalli means fast, an urgency culture where speed and quality aren't enemies. They're partners, but not the kind where you're rushing through things and creating chaos. In Korea, Ppalli-ppalli built an entire nation. The high-speed internet infrastructure, the same-day delivery systems, the record-breaking construction timelines. Speed is not recklessness, it's a deliberate refusal to let momentum die. Want to stop procrastinating and actually start things? Here's exactly how to use this. So try this, pick the one task you've been delaying this week. Set a 10-minute timer. Don't aim for perfect, aim for started. Ppalli-ppalli isn't about doing everything fast. It's about refusing to let the gap between thinking and doing grow into a wall. Here's the truth. Most of your frustration isn't about the task itself. It's the time you spend bracing for it. Speed collapses that gap. And that brings us to the third habit is called Siksaenghwal. Siksaenghwal means intentional food culture, treating eating not as a fuel stop, but as a daily ritual that shapes your mental and physical state, but not the kind where you're obsessing over macros and meal plans. In Korea, eating is communal, colorful, and intentional. The average Korean meal includes 5 to 8 small dishes, different textures, temperatures, and flavors designed to nourish without overwhelming. Studies show that eating diverse, smaller portions reduces post-meal energy crashes by up to 40%. Want to stop feeling foggy and heavy after meals? Here's exactly how to use this. So try this, at your next meal, add one extra side. It doesn't have to be Korean food. A handful of nuts, a small salad, a few slices of fruit alongside your main. The goal is variety, not volume. Train your plate to look like a system, not a single event. The food you eat isn't just calories. It's information your body uses to decide how to feel for the next 4 hours. And that brings us to, don't skip ahead. Habit number 6 is the exact reason you keep sabotaging your own progress after a setback, and it's the complete opposite of everything you've been told about resilience. The fourth habit is called Dangsim. Dangsim means mental centering, the practice of anchoring your mind to the present moment when pressure tries to scatter it, but not the kind where you're forcing yourself to meditate for an hour every morning. In Korea, Dangsim is built into practice. Martial artists use it before a match, performers use it before a stage, students use it before an exam. It is the mental equivalent of planting your feet before a storm. Research shows that a single minute of intentional centering can lower cortisol levels measurably enough to affect decision-making quality. Want to stop making reactive decisions that you regret an hour later? Here's exactly how to use this. So try this, when you feel a spiral starting, anxiety, overwhelm, reactive anger. Place one hand flat on your chest. Take 3 slow breaths. Feel the weight of your feet on the floor. That's it. That's Dangsim. You're not calming down. You're returning. Here's the thing. Pressure doesn't destroy clarity. Disconnection from the present moment does. Dangsim keeps the anchor in the ground. And that brings us to the 5th habit is called Jeong. Jeong means deep emotional attachment, the quiet, powerful bond that forms between people who share time, space, and care over a long period. But not the kind where you're clinging to every person you've ever met. In Korea, Jeong is considered one of the most powerful forces in human life. It's why Koreans feel genuine grief when a neighborhood restaurant closes. It's why loyalty runs so deep in Korean professional culture. Jeong is not manufactured. It grows, slowly, quietly, through consistent presence. Studies show that people with deep relational ties report 45% higher resilience scores during periods of personal crisis. Want to stop feeling isolated even when you're surrounded by people? Here's exactly how to use this. So try this. Identify one person in your life who you haven't been fully present with lately. Not a text, not a like on their photo. Show up. A shared meal. A real conversation. Jeong doesn't ask for grand gestures. It asks for repeated, genuine presence. Loneliness isn't the absence of people around you. It's the absence of Jeong. And that brings us to the 6th habit is called Han. Han means a deep sorrow, a grief that doesn't break you but instead transforms into something quiet and enduring, like strength pressed into stone, but not the kind where you sit with your pain indefinitely and call it wisdom. Here's the truth. In Korean culture, Han is not a wound to be fixed. It is a signal that something you love deeply was real enough to hurt. Generations of Korean artists, writers, and musicians have channeled Han into some of the most moving creative work in human history. Studies show that people who acknowledge and process emotional pain rather than suppress it demonstrate 37% faster cognitive recovery after stressful events. Want to stop feeling like your setbacks define you? Here's exactly how to use this. So try this. The next time something genuinely hurts, a failure, a rejection, a loss, don't rush to replace the feeling with productivity. Give it 1 hour. Let it exist. Then ask yourself, what did this prove I care about? That answer is your Han. That answer is your fuel. Here's the thing. You were never supposed to be untouched by life. You were supposed to be shaped by it. Han doesn't ask you to suffer. It asks you to alchemize. And that brings us to the 7th habit is called Heung. Heung means spontaneous joy, the ability to let yourself feel fully alive in a moment without needing permission or a reason, but not the kind where you're performing happiness to avoid looking like you're struggling. In Korea, Heung is a cultural celebration of the body's right to delight. It lives in the street festivals, in the shared laughter over food, in the moment someone breaks into song at a family gathering and no one looks embarrassed. Heung is not earned. It is allowed. Research shows that brief moments of genuine positive emotion, as short as 90 seconds, can measurably reset the stress response. Want to stop feeling like joy is something you'll get to eventually? Here's exactly how to use this. So try this today. Find one moment and give it your full permission. Not tomorrow. Not after you finish the list. One song you turn up too loud. One meal you eat slowly on purpose. 1 minute of doing something for no reason except it makes you feel alive. That's Heung. Here's the truth. You don't need to earn joy. You need to stop apologizing for it. And that brings us to the 8th habit is called Chemyon. Chemyon means dignity, a daily commitment to honoring yourself and others through how you show up, speak, and carry yourself. But not the kind where you're rigid, performative, or obsessed with appearances. In Korea, Chemyon is the quiet force behind professional respect, personal presentation, and how people handle conflict. It is not arrogance. It is self-respect expressed outward. It shapes the way Koreans dress for even casual occasions, the care taken in written communication, the refusal to dismiss others publicly. Studies show that people who maintain consistent standards of self-presentation report 29% higher self-efficacy scores. Want to stop letting your standards slip when no one is watching? Here's exactly how to use this. So try this. Choose one daily habit you've been doing carelessly, how you dress for your home office, how you write your emails, how you greet the people you live with. Raise that standard by 1 degree. Not for them, for the version of yourself you're in the process of becoming. And here's what happens when you do this. Chemyon doesn't create pride. It creates integrity, and integrity compounds. And that brings us to the 9th habit is the Banchan philosophy. Banchan means the array of small side dishes served alongside every Korean meal, each one different, each one small, together creating something nourishing and complete. But not the kind where you're obsessively diversifying everything until nothing gets done. In Korea, Banchan is not extravagance. It is the daily philosophy that variety in small doses produces sustainable satisfaction. This principle extends beyond food, into work schedules, relationships, creative lives. A day with one tiny physical movement, one moment of connection, one creative outlet, and one moment of stillness is more nourishing than a day of intense focus in a single lane. Research shows that people who build variety into their daily routines experience 31% less mental fatigue over time. Want to stop burning out on the same routine that felt great 3 weeks ago? Here's exactly how to use this. So try this, tonight. Design tomorrow with 5 small things instead of one big thing. 1 physical, 1 relational, 1 creative, 1 professional, 1 moment of stillness. Not equal time, just equal presence. That's Banchan. That's a full day. No single habit completes you. The combination does. Nunchi teaches you that reading the room is a skill, and it begins before you open your mouth. Ppalli-ppalli gives you permission to start before you're ready. Siksaenghwal reminds you that what you eat shapes how you feel, not just your body, but your mind. Dangsim protects your clarity by bringing you back to the present before pressure scatters you. Jeong builds the kind of connection that holds you up when everything else falls. Han transforms your pain into something that drives you forward instead of holding you back. Heung gives you full permission to feel alive right now, not later. Chemyon carries your dignity into every room, even the ones where nobody is watching. And Banchan teaches you that a good life isn't one big thing done well. It's many small things done with intention. Here's the thing. These 9 habits aren't tricks. They are not hacks. They are not shortcuts. They are a way of seeing. Korea has spent centuries developing a relationship with life that doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence. It doesn't demand you feel nothing. It demands you feel deeply and move forward anyway. It doesn't separate the body from the mind, the personal from the professional, the joyful from the disciplined. It holds all of it at once. Your frustrations aren't random. They're the gaps between where you are and where your habits are taking you. 9 small bridges. 9 quiet shifts. You don't transform a life in a single day, but you can change the direction it's heading in a single moment. And that moment is always right now. If this changed how you see your daily habits, hit subscribe. Because this channel exists to find the wisdom other cultures have already figured out, and hand it to you in a form you can actually use. And let me know in the comments which habit you're trying first.